Tēnā tātou katoa. Good evening. Kiri Allan has resigned as a minister after being arrested for a late-night car crash in Wellington. The now former Justice Minister was charged with careless driving and refusing to accompany a police officer, and issued an infringement notice for being over the legal alcohol limit.
Her shock departure has left Labor fighting for the public's confidence just weeks out from the beginning of the election campaign. Political editor Jenna Lynch begins our coverage.
A crunched-up ute with busted tyres, evidence of the moment that ended Kiri Allan's ministerial career. Last night, she allegedly drove her ministerial-issued car under the influence at around 9 p.m, crashing into the vehicle and colliding with the consequences.
Retaining her ministerial warrant was untenable, especially for a Justice Minister to be charged with criminal offending.
The PM got the dreaded call an hour after the crash.
While her actions are inexcusable, I was given information that she was experiencing extreme emotional distress at the time of the incident. My initial concerns last night were for her immediate safety and well-being.
Last night, the details fuzzy.
I couldn't speak to her directly last night, but there was some suggestion that she may have said that she wasn't driving.
Daybreak, clear light, clear facts, she had to go, offering her resignation in a message to the PM just before an early morning phone call.
That was a difficult conversation. She's clearly not in a good space.
Kiri Allan has been openly struggling with her mental health. It all came to a head yesterday.
Obviously, I'm very sad for Kiri. Kiri is an incredibly talented person who clearly has been battling some demons and has not won that battle.
Christopher Luxon says she shouldn't have been at work.
Personally, I would have wanted some reassurance from a clinician or from someone that actually the individual would be good to come back to work.
I don't believe that mental health should disqualify someone from employment.
Allan released a statement saying after taking mental health leave, she believed she was okay to juggle those challenges with the pressure of being a minister, saying, "My actions yesterday show I wasn't okay and I've let myself and my colleagues down. I'm very sorry for my actions, the harm they could have caused and the embarrassment it has placed on the government and my colleagues."
I think, as you would have seen last week, Kiri was showing signs that she had gotten on top of things. I think, it's a terrible set of circumstances.
A terrible set of personal circumstances, leaving Hipkins with a dreadful political circumstance of his own, losing another minister 6 weeks out from the election campaign.
That really hasn't been a part of my thinking at all in the last few hours.
The ministerial house of cards has been tumbling all year. Jacinda Ardern was first to fold, resigning in January. Hipkins barely had a month at the helm before more started to crumble. Stuart Nash was sacked come March following breaches of the cabinet manual. Meka Whaitiri dealt a body blow, defecting to Te Pāti Māori in May. Michael Wood fell in June over his shares scandal, and now Kiri Allan.
Do you have the confidence of the public?
They elected us.
But again, shuffling the cabinet deck chairs. Ginny Anderson will be the new Justice Minister, while Kieran McAnulty, man of the regions, will take on regional development. Barbara Edmonds picks up Associate Finance, as well as Revenue, relinquished by David Parker a week after the PM killed his wealth tax.
Do you believe that Labor has a chance of winning this year's election now?
Yes.
How can you show the public that you've got it together?
Well, just watch me.
Everybody is watching.
Jenna joins us now. Kia ora, Jenna. Can Labor come back from this?
The hill that it was stumbling up toward election day just morphed into Everest. The government has a world of work ahead of it in commanding the confidence of the public again. It has been bogged down in personnel issues, and while this one differs from the other ministerial scandals, it was a personal problem, and the public may have some sympathy for Kiri Allan. That doesn't stop it spilling over into politics. Nationals should not count their chickens. Anything can happen in an election campaign, and there is still a long way to go until October 14. And I think Christopher Luxon missed the mark a bit today in politicising this and demanding that people get clinician sign-off before heading back to work after a mental health episode. That's a somewhat dangerous message to be sending people when we want them to come forward and be more open about mental health. All that said, a Justice Minister resigning after being charged for a criminal offence is a devastating blow, and if Labor loses, this may just be the day that people point back to as the moment it all fell apart, the moment the hill became too steep.
Political editor Jenna Lynch, tēnā koe.
Kiri Allan was a rising star in Labor and was even spoken of as a possible leadership contender earlier this year.
Many of her constituents on the East Coast have been left gutted by her downfall, as have most of her colleagues. Political reporter Amelia Wade has more.
At home in Whakatane, there's a lot of kindness for Kiri Allan.
I feel for her. She's obviously struggling.
We wish her the best and hopefully she can sort things out.
She's actually quite a good person, and so what I've seen.
She became an MP in 2017, then the East Coast representative in 2020.
All right, let's go.
The 39-year-old commercial lawyer became one of Labour's rising stars, quickly earning a ministerial warrant, then a seat at the cabinet table in 2020. Then Kiwis' respect for being a calm voice during the tsunami scare.
This has been an extraordinary morning.
It was later revealed she'd also been diagnosed with stage 3 cervical cancer that morning.
Thinking if only people knew what else she was dealing with. It was remarkable, but she is remarkable.
Kiri then fought the fight of her life.
As a wahine Māori, I have about a 13.3% chance of survival.
She fought for 3 months and won.
She's back.
Kiri kept rising the ranks, picking up justice in June last year, but this year it took a turn. The rain came and so did the headlines.
In March, Kiri Allan gave a controversial speech at an RNZ farewell for her then fiancé Mani Dunlop. Then in June she was accused of poor working relationships with staff.
Her personal relationship ended and the weight of it all took its toll. Kiri was open about her mental health and took a break from work.
Kiri has been receiving counselling, she's been receiving professional support. We made sure that was the case.
I was with Kiri a lot last week and she was good. She was really good, but that just shows how mental health is unpredictable.
Well, I caught up with her last week. We went walking and she said she was ready to come back. But I'm just really sorry what's happened.
Her shell-shocked colleagues processing the events.
Shit happens.
Most just concerned for Kiri.
It's clearly unacceptable behaviour, but I'm more concerned about Kiri. At this time, she's my friend as well as my colleague.
I hope that we as a nation have some empathy to some of the issues that we contend with in these roles.
That empathy rippling through most of Kiri's electorate.
Like anybody, you can break and that, but what she did was a bit rough.
We all have problems in our life and we don't, drinking and driving, and when you hold a position like that to do that sort of shit, mate, that's just not on me.
I just send her lots of love, really. Yeah. And recovery. Get well.
Surely everyone can wish Kiri that. Amelia Wade, Newshub.
All right, as you've just heard, there was a sense of sorrow at Kiri Allan's resignation in her East Coast electorate today, but it also raises questions about the area's representation in Wellington. Nick Trowbridge is in Gisborne and joins us now. Kia ora, Nick. What more have people been telling you?
Yeah, good evening, Oreni. A real mix here on the streets of Gisborne, you'd have to say. On one hand, there is certainly a lot of concern for someone who they consider, quite frankly, one of their own, someone who is clearly going through quite a bit at the moment. But on the flip side of that, there is a sense that an individual must take ultimate responsibility for their actions, particularly when they have such a public profile, particularly in this case when they are the Justice Minister. Now, you mentioned representation in Wellington, and that's a really interesting question here because, of course, Kiri Allan is now gone from Cabinet. Just recently here, they've had Meka Whaitiri. She has gone from government, an independent MP for the time being, before she goes to Te Pāti Māori after the election. And then, I guess, a side note here as well, and last time I was here, we were interviewing Stuart Nash, and he of course was overseeing the forestry inquiry after Gabrielle ripped through the East Coast. He was the kind of person who said he would not be an apologist for that industry here. He is gone as well. So real questions around who will represent this area around the cabinet table in Wellington, around the government more widely in Wellington. And I just want to leave you with this, because I did say they see her, Kiri Allan, here as one of their own. You get a real sense when you come to these places of exactly what grassroots New Zealanders think of their MPs. And with Kiri Allan, even among some national voters I spoke to here, there is a real sense of respect. And I'll leave you with this. One individual said to me that they've dealt with Kiri Allan a number of times on local issues. They rate her as good value and very supportive of us as people. Will she continue as local MP? We will find out.
Thank you very much, Nick. That is Nick Trowbridge live from Gisborne.